All right, let's say you moved to a new city and now you're like all settled in, you got your furniture, and you figured out your travel to your job, and you're good to go. So now it's time to figure out what you like in the city, right? So at this point, there are probably about three options, right? One is you settled like on your routine, you found your grocery stores, maybe like a couple of regular places that you might like to visit, and you kind of just stick to that. But mainly you're a homebody, you prefer cooking at home. Going out by yourself and eating out by yourself is a little weird and scary, so you don't do it a lot. So you kind of like keep your view of the city like pretty limited, pretty small. On the other end of the spectrum, you could go and do literally everything. You kind of like sign up for all of the media, the social media feeds that give you the latest events and the trendiest places, and so you hit up like all of the spots, you go to all the nightlife, all the events, and you basically just kind of go and splurge. But you really don't like being at home because it's too boring and you don't want to be on your own, you don't like being by yourself, maybe you're not much of a cook. And so that's kind of your routine, you're like constantly out. And I think the third option is that one that's like sort of in between, where you do like being at home. You like making things for yourself. You've made a nice, like cozy, nicely decorated place where you're comfortable. But at the same time, you like checking things out. And you're willing to kind of go every once in a while to a different spot just to see what's out there. Like you're not really expecting anything. And you just kind of want to see what your options are and see which parts of the city and what kind of activities you might like over time. You let that sort of like unveil itself. I think dating is a lot like these three options. When you first start dating, or you decide to date, there are like those three options. One is you can just maybe be a little bit too timid and too afraid to try. So you kind of just hold back and you're just like, this isn't for me. And every time you do try, it's like, it feels awkward. So you like, just hop off of it again, or you don't give it another try for a while. On the other end of things, you could go on as many dates as possible. You know, if you do get a lot of likes, or you just send out a lot of messages. If you don't get a lot of likes and you just like, you're trying really hard, change your profile constantly, and you're hoping, you know, something will latch onto you. But the third option is that you are okay being on your own, and you don't necessarily like need somebody else. Kind of fine doing your own thing and exploring and trying to make friends and whatnot. But at the same time, you do want to like put yourself out there, and you're open to seeing what will happen. You don't have any sort of checklists of requirements. You don't have like a list of red flags, green flags, or, minimum barriers to entry. And you're not looking for like a specific type either. And I think that is like an apt sort of like analogy for the dating process. I think that is true. Like when we first start dating, it can be scary. And maybe like people don't really know what they want. But the first step is like actually having to try. I know dating apps are strange. If it was kind of like exploring a city, for example, a dating app would just be kind of like throwing random places at you. I guess it's kind of like a social media feed where it's like, hey, try this, try this, try this. And you don't really know if you like any of them, but you just kind of go through the list, I guess. Because in real life, it's not like that, right? If you are trying to meet new people, you do tend to spend time in specific places. Like if you like exercising, you're playing sports, you're going to meet more athletic people, or you like networking and business or whatever, you'll meet like those people, or creative people, you kind of meet them in those circles. But on the dating apps, you kind of get a little bit of everything. So it's definitely like weird. At the same time, trying to talk to someone in person is also like really strange because I don't know, you don't know who they are at all. It's kind of a huge guessing game. You don't know if they're just being polite, if they want any attention, or if you're just being creepy and annoying. And even if you get beyond all of that and you have the courage to talk to somebody, you don't know if they're single, you don't know if they're interested, you don't know where things will actually go. So again, it's sort of like a little bit of a shot in the dark. But yeah, you do have to take that shot. And I do think if you have problems just even making yourself available, then you have to like sort of think about and see maybe why you're so anxious about giving it a try. It's the same thing with exploring a city, right? I think they feed into each other because if you limit the places you're willing to go and the things you're willing to do on your own, you limit the kind of people you're willing to meet. So I think it has the same underlying feeling. At the same time, if people go on too many dates, if they're just kind of willing to go out with anybody, I think that, or maybe like, it's more like the nightclub kind of analogy where you're kind of like constantly going to the same spots all the time. If you're going to nightlife, it's a certain kind of a crowd. And there's like a certain, I don't know, cultural norm and expectations in those places, right? Like there's drinking, there's dancing, there's maybe like a group mentality, there's maybe like a dating game rules that are in place. And if that's where you're looking, you may or may not get what you're looking for. You might just be looking for like a quick connection or a quick fix. And that does happen a lot in dating apps and in the dating world. But if you're kind of looking for like a real long-term relationship, like you might get lucky and you might find it in those places. But at the same time, if you're not willing to look into like a different pool, then you're sort of like limiting your options. And if you kind of repeat the same patterns of behavior, well, like that is a part of that loop. Because if you don't change your pool and you don't change the cultural and the expectations that people have, then everyone in that world is sort of following and doing the dating thing the same way, right? So if you feel stuck and you're kind of like trying a lot and nothing seems to work, then maybe it's time to like shake things up. That's like going to explore different places in the city. If you're constantly just doing the nightlife thing, well, maybe try going to different quieter events, going to movie events, going to like museum events, trying arts and crafts and pottery or something like that. And you never know like who else you'll meet that might fit with you better than you think. After that, I do think that when you go explore new places or date, you kind of have to like give it a chance. Sometimes if you go on one bad date, or it's like go to a restaurant and there's like weird service and you didn't like the food, okay, sure, that's like fair. Maybe you didn't want to go back there again. But if you like unsure, or you kind of liked it, but you're not really sure if like you want to go back, you kind of have like that sort of maybe feeling, I think it's worth revisiting. I have heard in the dating, kind of online dating especially, people are more willing to drop people and kind of like make quick judgments because there's more options out there, kind of thing. But I feel like with anything, if you don't try often enough or give it more of a chance, then you're not really sure if you really like it. Like if it was a restaurant, for example, and you went and you got bad service that one time and the food that you ordered wasn't great, but maybe your friend had something that seemed a little better. Like you can try other things on the menu. For the dating thing, it's like if you go on more than one date, you'll see a different side of the person. Maybe like people are just really nervous on the first date, or they're just like trying really hard. But after like a couple of dates, if you don't totally feel like a spark, but there's like a potential, I'd say it's worth like playing out, because you don't know how things will unfold over time. I do think that we're sort of spoiled or maybe it's like a romantic fantasy that we think everything is kind of like, I don't know, like Sleepless in Seattle or When Harry Met Sally, that there's sort of like this magical thing that just sort of works out. But even in those movies, like Harry Met Sally, they do have like a friendship first, which is interesting. But most of those movies stop when the relationship starts, right? Or in that movie in particular, it did. Maybe there was like a chemistry lying underneath, but it took a long time for it to bubble up, right? So I think it is worth, giving people a chance sometimes if the first date wasn't perfect, or you don't feel like a magical chemistry. That's not exactly how things work all the time. We all have different feelings and moods, and I don't know. Sometimes it's just like that day might have just been a bad day. But who knows? Like it could have been the perfect fit for you if you kind of gave it a few more dates. But if you give up on them too early, then you never know. I guess if all of that doesn't work and you're like willing to try things, then like the more extreme option is to kind of look at where you are. I actually had that experience personally, and this is obviously the most extreme option, but I was in Calgary, and I kind of hopped into the dating world in my 30s after like a long-term relationship, and I didn't really know how to date, honestly. I thought I was open to it, and I thought I was like, okay, somewhat okay with who I am and stuff, so I dove into it. But I really wasn't exactly ready, I don't think. I would show up to dates, I'd be willing to send messages and try to do that. And I didn't get a lot of dates. But yeah, I tried. But it never like quite clicked, and it felt really hard and it felt really frustrating. I kind of blamed it on the whole, there's like this OkCupid stat where they analyzed likes between different ethnicities. And they found that like Asian men are kind of ranked at the bottom, which is unfortunate. I can't do anything about that. And for women, it's like Black women are the least attractive women. But yeah, I kind of felt that a little bit. I couldn't get any dates. It was hard to make a connection. And on the dates I was on, I guess I didn't quite feel anything click. So it tended to drop off really quickly. But as soon as I moved here to Vancouver, where there's like a more diverse crowd, Alberta was also, Calgary is more conservative, and here it's like a little bit more liberal. And there's a lot more Asian, multicultural people here. And I noticed my prospects changed like immediately. I hopped on the dating apps once I got settled in, and I was able to get dates almost like right away. Whereas back in Calgary, I tried for years, and I would get maybe like a month or every few months. And here it was like I could get dates within like a week or two. Like it was a huge difference. And I found that really interesting. But obviously, like I said, that's like an extreme example. Obviously, you kind of like, for the most part, you have to try where you are. But if things aren't clicking, and if you don't like kind of where you live and the people around you, well, then maybe that's like an option to consider. But yeah, once the dating does start, I guess I wanted to talk about what I think about relationships in general. And yeah, kind of like going back to the rom-coms, people think that it's sort of this like magical chemistry. And I'm not denying that there is something there. Um, you do get a sense that you want to get closer to a person, or maybe you just find that you're both like mutually attracted to one another. But ultimately, a relationship is something that you have to like build together. I think one of the misnomers or the sort of misconceptions about dating is that it's meant to like complete you, or I guess in that sense it's filling a void, or you like these two puzzle pieces going together. It's kind of like that Jerry Maguire thing in Tom Cruise, you know, you complete me. But I don't think it should really be like that. It should feel a lot more like partnership, like that you're building something together. Because like a relationship doesn't really exist if both people aren't actively participating in it, right? And it's not like I don't know, it's not like a transaction either. Like you're not supposed to be providing some kind of service. But I think dating is sort of thought of in that way, that like you have to meet these requirements. Like men should be, I don't know, chivalrous and pay for things, or women are supposed to dress and look a certain way, or there's a certain, I don't know, like behavior that's attractive. And that's not even including all the things around intimacy. But there's all of these requirements nowadays, especially in this online world where everything is like a quick checkbox. And there's like quick requirements, or like they have to have a certain profession or make a certain amount of money, or like look and dress in certain kinds of clothes and brands. But ultimately that's just like surface level stuff. It might be what you click into at first. But yeah, like I said, the relationship has to be something that's built. So it's really like from date to date, from the get-go, we should be looking for somebody who like wants to engage. They want to go on the journey with us. They want to ultimately, you want to like live your life together, right? But that kind of, there is no one quality that provides that. It's more like you have to both be willing to put in the effort, I guess. And that only, like, you never know if that happens. All you can do is go and try. And if you like the person, then you keep trying. And there's really like not too much more than that. I guess going back to the whole city analogy, it's like if you think your lifestyle is supposed to be a certain way and that's all you're looking for, then you kind of like miss out on the rest of the city. You miss out on everything else. So I do think that, yeah, people should take a more kind of open-ended approach to dating and just meet somebody. If they look interesting, see where it goes. Don't expect so much. Like, I think we expect this big magical moment where everything just suddenly seems to fit, or they give you something, they give you the attention that you want, that you've been too afraid to seek or ask for yourself. But it's more so like, are you willing to go on this journey together? So yeah, I think dating is tricky. I think it is hard. I tried for a long time, but I got lucky, and because I was willing to keep going, I did find somebody that's a great fit for me right now, and we are, yeah, doing pretty well. But I do think you have to go through those steps. Like, you have to be willing to try. You have to like see and analyze kind of what your preconceptions are and sort of throw them out. And you have to like try to not get stuck thinking that a relationship is like a certain way. But like the only thing you can really do is try. There is like that whole thing of it's kind of like winning the lottery or lightning strike. Like you really only need one. So if you're kind of constantly going out, and you're putting in the effort, and it doesn't work out, take a break. But you don't have to give up, because the right person might just be around the corner.